Okay, let's picture this. It's June 12th, 2025. You've got this brand new Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, Air India Flight 171.
Right.
It's lifting off from Ahmedabad in India, heading for London Gatwick. Everything seems totally routine, the usual takeoff buzz. But then, bang, just 32 seconds later, it all goes catastrophically wrong. An aviation incident so sudden, weird. It's left everyone scratching their heads.
Yeah, investigators included. More questions than answers, really.
Exactly. So today, that's what we're diving into, this mystery of Air India 171.
It's a really a deeply unsettling case. And what we want to do here is sort of pull out the key bits from that initial investigation, try and get to the heart of, what happened?
And the sheer speed, like you said, and the human cost is just staggering.
It really is.
I mean, the numbers.
Yeah.
241 people on the plane died out of 242, plus another 19 people on the ground, just one survivor from the aircraft.
Unbelievable tragedy.
And like we said, 32 seconds airborne. It only traveled about, 1.6 kilometers? Just under a mile from the runway?
Yeah, barely cleared the airport perimeter.
So the massive question is, what on earth makes a state-of-the-art jet like a Dreamliner just fall out of the sky like that so quickly? And why is this specific case just so baffling, even for the experts?
Well, the immediate finding, the thing that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, the AAIB, flagged right away, was a dual-engine power loss.
Both engines. Just seconds after takeoff.
Both engines, seconds after getting airborne.
Wow. I mean, that's incredibly rare for a modern twin jet, isn't it? What did they find to actually cause that? What was the trigger?
The critical thing they found was that the fuel cutoff switches for both engine 1 and engine 2, they'd moved from the normal run-in position to cutoff.
Both of them. At the same time?
Almost. Not quite simultaneous. It was one, then the other, about a second apart. And this happened right as the plane hit its maximum takeoff speed, about 180 knots.
Okay, so moving those switches, that directly cuts the fuel flow, right, to both engines?
Exactly. It stars the engines of fuel.
So what does that do to the engines, immediately?
Well, it causes the main fan rotation speeds. Engineers call them N1 and N2. They basically show how much power the engine's making to drop way down, below the minimum needed to keep them running, below idle.
So catastrophic power loss.
Yeah.
Right at the most critical moment.
Precisely during climb out, you couldn't pick a worse time.
And then there's the cockpit voice recorder, the CVR. I mean, if you want something that sends a chill down your spine.
Oh, absolutely. The CVR data is deeply disturbing in this case.
It captured this exchange.
Yeah.
One pilot asking the other pilot essentially, why did you do the cutoff? And the other pilot just flat out denies it, says, I did not do so.
Yeah, and the preliminary report, importantly, didn't actually say which pilot said what.
Which just adds another layer of whoa, what, why? You can only imagine the confusion, the sheer panic in those final moments.
It raises huge questions, doesn't it, about what was actually happening on that flight deck. Was it a mistake, misunderstanding, something else? But, despite this absolute crisis, the pilots did try to react.
You did? What could they do?
Well, the ram air turbine, the RAT, that's like an emergency mini generator that pops out, it was deployed right after they lifted off, so they got some basic power back.
Okay.
And they did try to fix the engine problem. Within about 14 seconds, they actually moved those fuel cutoff switches back to run.
Back to run. So they tried to restart the engines.
They tried. It shows incredible presence of mind, really, under that kind of pressure. Trained responses kicking in.
There just wasn't enough time, was it?
Tragically, no. It was too late. Moving the switches back didn't give the engines enough time to spool up again to generate useful thrust before impact.
And that's when the Mayday call went out.
Yeah, just 26 seconds after liftoff. Mayday, mayday, mayday. The whole thing, start to finish, was incredibly fast. Heartbreakingly fast.
And then the investigation starts. And this is where it gets even stranger, right? Because they started ruling things out.
Exactly. The initial work looked for the common culprits, the usual suspects in these kinds of accidents. And they came up empty, at least initially.
Like what? Mechanical failure. It's the complex machine. Things can go wrong.
Well, according to the preliminary report, they didn't find any immediate technical faults with the Boeing 787 itself or with its GE engines. The plane was considered airworthy. Maintenance was up to date.
Okay, so not the plane itself, seemingly. What about the fuel?
Yeah.
Bad batch. Contamination.
They checked that too. Fuel samples taken from the airport trucks tested fine. Good quality fuel.
All right. So aircraft, okay. Fuel. Okay. What about things outside the plane? Weather, birds?
Nope. Weather was good. Clear conditions. No sign of any bird strike. Nothing on radar. Nothing found at the site. And the plane's setup, flaps, landing gear, it was all configured exactly as you'd expect for a normal takeoff.
Huh. So all the obvious boxes.
Yeah.
Unticked.
Pretty much. That's what really baffled the investigators early on. The easy answers just weren't there.
So you've got this advanced jet, good condition, good fuel, good weather, normal configuration, and yet somehow those vital fuel switches get moved to CBUS.
Right.
And that leads us to this other really critical piece of information that the investigation turned up. Something about a non-mandatory advisory.
Yes, that's a potentially very significant detail. The investigators noted an FAA bulletin, an SAIB, that's a Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin from back in 2018.
Okay, and what is that about?
It was about a potential issue with the locking feature on the fuel control switches, that little mechanism that's supposed to stop you accidentally knocking them into cutoff. And this applied to similar Boeing jets, including the 787.
A known potential issue with the exact switches involved. Okay.
Yes. But here's the kicker, as you said. The advisory was non-mandatory. It recommended inspections, but it didn't require them.
And Air India hadn't done those recommended checks.
Apparently not, according to the report, because it wasn't mandatory.
Wow. That really opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About mandatory versus recommended actions and airline procedures and how these things are decided, especially when the stakes are this high.
It certainly adds a major complicating factor to the whole picture, and it feeds directly into the theories the investigators are now looking at for why those switches moved.
Okay, so what are the main lines of inquiry now? What are they thinking could have actually caused those switches to go to CDOF?
Well, broadly speaking, there are three main possibilities they're exploring. First is inadvertent human input.
Meaning a pilot bumped them accidentally. But you said they have locking features.
They do, yes. They're designed specifically not to be moved easily or accidentally. You generally have to lift a guard or pull the switch out first.
Yeah.
But investigators still have to consider if somehow, perhaps in a moment of high stress or unusual movement in the cockpit, it was still possible for them to be moved unintentionally.
Okay, so accidental, though maybe unlikely. What's the second theory?
The second is still mechanical failure. Even though nothing obvious showed up initially, they're digging much deeper now. Could there have been some kind of hidden mechanical glitch? Or maybe an electronic malfunction, perhaps linked to that locking engine's electronic control unit, the ECU, kind of the engine's brain.
Right, so maybe a fault did cause the switches to move on their own, even without pilot input.
It's a possibility they absolutely have to thoroughly investigate.
And the third theory, this is the one that feels, well, most unsettling given that CVR recording.
It is. The third possibility being considered is deliberate action.
Deliberate, like pilot suicide or some kind of struggle.
Well, some outside aviation experts have raised possibilities like that, highly speculative ones. But it's crucial, really crucial, to stress that the official investigation, the AAIB, has not confirmed anything like this. They haven't assigned blame or motive.
Right.
But you have that CVR audio, right? One pilot clearly denying doing the cutoff. It forces investigators to at least keep the possibility of some form of intentional act on the table, even if it was perhaps based on a sudden misunderstanding or a completely unexpected event happening on the flight deck. It's a very sensitive area.
Yeah, incredibly sensitive, and the denial makes it even more complex.
It truly does. So the investigation is very much ongoing. Boeing is involved. GE, other international experts are assisting the AIIB. They're aiming for a full final report by June 12th, 2026.
A date the whole aviation world will be watching closely, I imagine.
No doubt about it.
So to wrap this up for you listening, we've just walked through this deep enigma surrounding Air India Flight 171. How did those two critical fuel cutoff switches end up in the CDOF position just moments after takeoff?
Yeah, leading to that catastrophic loss of power, especially when you have that denial recorded in the cockpit and no immediate obvious mechanical fault found early on.
Right. So our goal here was really to give you the key facts as we know them from the preliminary report, lay out those big unanswered questions, and outline the main theories investigators are chasing down. It's a shortcut to understanding a really complex and still unfolding situation.
And maybe here's something to think about as you process all this. We live in a world that's constantly striving for more safety, right? Through incredible technology, complex procedures, layers of redundancy.
Yeah, especially in aviation.
Exactly. But this incident, Air India 171, it really highlights something profound, I think. It shows how sometimes these subtle interactions, maybe a design detail like a switch guard, the human element under immense, unimaginable pressure, and even decisions made about seemingly minor, non-mandatory advisories, how all these things can potentially line up in just the wrong way.
Creating these tragedies that are also deep mysteries.
Precisely. Mysteries that force us all to constantly re-examine what we think we know about safety, about control, and about how even the most advanced systems can sometimes face the utterly unexpected.